Hey everyone, it's Jennifer with Rooted in the Rock, and I've got something dropping from the encouragement branch right now. Hey everyone, welcome to Rooted in the Rock. I'm so glad you're here. Now, first, before I get started with anything, I want to remind you, please hit the thumbs up and like the video if this was helpful or if you enjoyed it. Subscribe so you can see all the things coming out. Guys, that helps me. Leave me comments, feedback, all the things, okay? Now, I always forget to do that, so I'm like, look, I'm sticking it up at the front, okay? So, now, today, I would like to, it's a little encouragement. Listen, there's something that's heavy on my heart, and of course I'm killing my calendar. The last video was something I didn't plan. Was it the last one or the one before that? I don't know, one recently. It was something I didn't plan on, and now I'm like completely trashing my calendar. This is not what I planned on for today, but this has been so heavy, and I just have to share, okay? I want to encourage you to make and keep your foundation strong, okay? Your foundation as a Christian. Who are we? I mean, this whole thing I'm calling Rooted in the Rock. God is our rock. Jesus is our rock. That's who we are rooted in. That's our foundation. He is our anchor, okay? Hold to that as if it's your life preserver in the storm, okay? Never let go of that. I've got friends right now, more than one, several friends right now who were good Christians, and they're off, some of them literally searching the whole world for I don't know what. It's like they're wandering. It's like they're lost. They've lost their connection. They've come off of their foundation, and it's breaking my heart. It's breaking my heart to see the things they're saying, and I'm like, you know better. You know better. I know you know better. But for the enemy right now is working so hard. There's so much confusion in the world. So much confusion, and so much, the attacks are ridiculous right now. Ridiculous. There was just another shooting the other day, and these are people, guys. These are people. You know, I've used the phrase in myself, and I've heard it since I was a kid. You know, when someone does something like super crazy, and the parent or whoever is like, "What possessed you to blah blah blah?" Yeah, there's your clue. Like, we wonder, things happen and people do things, and there are these horrible things, and you're like, how could someone do that? I just don't understand how anybody could just flip their lid and go kill a bunch of people for no reason. It is unthinkable. We can't understand it, and go back to that phrase, what possessed you to blah blah blah. These people are deceived and confused and blinded by the enemy. And some of them probably, yes, actually possessed or influenced by a demon. You know, it's because that is just, anyway, let's not go off on too much of a tangent. But anyway, you have to, guys, God is our anchor. God is our foundation. The word, the word, the word, the word. Stick with the word. Yes, the Bible can be challenging in more ways than one, okay? It is. And there are a lot of things where you question and you're like, well, it says this here, but then it says this here, so, okay. Don't go off into the world asking these questions. They're going to lead you astray. They're going to take you away. Like, okay, and there are people, here's the thing, like, myself and my husband both, we've grown up, we've had the privilege, thank God, we grew up in Christian homes, My parents got saved when my oldest brother was little, I think. But I was the last one, so it was a Christian home by the time I came around, right? So we grew up in Christian homes, but at the same time, we've experienced anybody who's been in the church for a long time, especially small town churches and country churches. I'm not saying small town churches and country churches are bad. I'm just saying, well, big time church, any churches, honestly. It doesn't matter where. But stuff happens. Like sometimes you get a pastor that falls to sin or makes a mistake, or you get wolves in sheep clothing, y'all. The Bible warned us about that, and yet we act like shocked and, oh, I can't trust the church, I can't trust God anymore because this one person was evil. Like, it's not God's fault. Okay, so listen, like, but we've both grown up where there have been things that have happened at one church or another that, I have friends who, like, there was some kind of bad church experience and they just completely just lost it for they just don't want to go back to church at all. And I'm like, don't let the experience at one place turn you away from God. That's exactly what the enemy wants to do. Why do you think he pokes at pastors so hard? Why do you think he tempts Christians all the time? Because it will not just ruin the life of this one, but it'll take these other ones with him, right? Like, it's, and where was I going with that? Don't let that pull you away from the church and from God, and don't assume. Now, I know what I was going to say. And I do have friends that have had, probably, my husband's probably been in more than one too. I don't know. Anyway, I do have friends that, it wasn't just one experience. They've had more. There's been something seemingly everywhere they go. And, that's not God. Okay? That is people. People make mistakes. We're not perfect. All fall short, right? So don't pull away from God because of a bad church experience. The church isn't your foundation. God is your foundation. Keep your foundation strong. Dig in with every ounce of claw that you can manage and just cling to the rock for dear life. Okay? Right now, the world is just, like, in my head, I'm like, the world? Okay, everybody's just lost their marbles. Like, everything is just nuts. And it's funny, like, I don't know how has it been 5 years now? Every year it's like, oh, thank God that year is done. Yay, let's start a new year. And then a bunch of crud happens that year and you're like, oh, thought it was going to be better. This is like even worse. And then when the year changes, you're like, oh, thank God that year's done. This year's going to be better. And then it's just as bad or worse. Like, it's been that way lately. And it's like, it's the end is coming. Okay. We know we don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but hello, it's things are happening, and the Bible told us those things would happen. So, we're not to fear, and it is just, it's really hard on your heart, the things that are happening and the things that are going on and the way people are being, but we know that is supposed to happen for him to come back. So, and the trials and in the Bible, it talks about, count it all joy. And I talked before about how, the bullying, and people are going to hate us just because we have God in us for no other, they might not know why they even hate us, but that's how it is. But you know what? Every time that happens and you stand strong, that's another jewel in your crown. Okay? In the end, when you hold strong and fast to God, and when you choose the right path, that is more that you can offer to him at the end. Okay? It stinks and it's hard, but you're going to be so rewarded in the end. Keep strong. Hold your foundation. Your foundation, you've got the story of the man who built a house. There's one dude built his house on the rock. And one dude built his house down at the beach. I'm sorry, I'm not a beach person. I'm sorry for you beach people. But he built his house down at the beach, like on the sand, right? And what happened when a storm came? The sand got washed out from under that house and it crumbled. But the house that was on the rock stood firm. Make sure your foundation is the rock. Again, that's why I called this whole thing Rooted in the Rock. We try to, we've got to be in the world and not of it. And it's hard. It's hard, and we all make mistakes. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But just make sure you're rooted in the rock. Keep strong to your foundation. Don't go, the Bible says seek and you will find. But what are you seeking? That's the thing. Well, I've got a friend right now who's seeking, and I'm like, but you're seeking in the wrong places. You're looking. It's like this person doesn't even understand what they're looking for anymore. I don't understand. That's and I haven't said anything. I'm trusting. They know God. They know better. And so I'm hurting right here for it's more than one friend that I know right now. They're looking, but it just seems like they're like it's not here, and they're looking at, I'm like, why are you going that way? The answer is back here. I have to trust. I have to pray for them and trust that God will lead them back to himself, that they will have that connection again. And that terrifies me, because I'm like, these were good Christians. Like, God, don't let that ever happen to me. Please, I don't ever want to wander off like that. Like, please, like, no. I don't ever want to stray away, and that terrifies me. And then that brings me back to, like, you've got the parable of the sower, right? Where he's sowing the seed. And it's the same thing when you're planting seeds, when you're telling people about Jesus, just spread that seed. Spread that seed, spread that seed. You might not ever get to see it grow. It might grow later, depending on its germination time or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, but planting those seeds. But some of the seeds, you have some of the seeds like grow up really fast, but they don't have deep enough roots, and then the plant withers. And so sometimes you get people who come to know the Lord, and they're like on fire, super on fire, and then they just kind of fall away. And those roots were not deep enough, right? To hold on to the nutrient and to keep it thriving. And and so on with, you've got the rocky soil and the ones that the birds pick up and all that. So it's the roots, it's the foundation. Like, make sure you've put down your roots and you grabbing onto the rock. And people will disappoint you, but the one who will never disappoint you is God. We might not understand why certain things happen, or this or that, and anything that happens, he didn't guarantee. He never told us. You hear this all the time. He never told us that we wouldn't go through things, but he did tell us he would be there with us. Okay, it's not. He doesn't make the bad things happen. There might be things that you're like, why did this happen? But he's not going to make, if your life is perfect always, are you ever going to be encouraged to get better and change and grow? Because you never have any problems, right? Like, we have to go through things to get better and to learn things and to grow. So growing is kind of painful. I'm always like, we've always been like, as teachers, right? You're like, Christian teachers, we're all like, yeah, you see someone new and they're like, oh, I'm praying for patience. And you're like, yeah, watch out. You ask God for patience. He's going to teach you patience. It is not going to be fun. Well, be careful what you ask for. But still, anyway, it's just, I just really, really, really want to impress upon everybody. Make sure your foundation is strong, okay? Be reading the word. And if there's something you don't understand, ask God for understanding. Ask God for wisdom. Talk to a preacher or someone who studies the word who maybe could help you. You know what I'm saying? But be careful where you're searching. Be careful of the things, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you hear. Guard your heart, guys. Guard your foundation. Put a fence around that thing. Okay? Don't let any dudes with a jackhammer come and mess with your foundation. Right? I mean, seriously. Like, there's so much, like, social media and the internet, there's so much thing. Everybody's saying everything that they think. Just be careful what you let in. Because some stuff, it sounds really logical and it sounds, you're like, oh, that makes sense, I guess. You can logic anything any way you want, eventually. You can logic something to the point that gets you what you want. But is that right? Not always. Just be careful. There's so much junk out there. Don't believe everything. Test it with the word. Test it with what God says and what the word says. That is the truth. Make a strong foundation. Stick to it. Right now, more than ever, it's so important. So important. Make sure your foundation is strong. And if you got to go back and do some foundation work because you got some cracks or whatever, do it. Like, spend time strengthening your foundation. Okay? Anyway, I know there's a lot of people on spring break right now. People going on spring break. We're about to have our spring break. Enjoy some time off, everyone. Have a great time. Have a great week. And I'll see you next time. Oh, I know what I was supposed to tell everyone. That I always put the funny outtake stuff at the end and to stay to the end to watch that part. And I completely forgot. Although not every video has outtake stuff to put at the end, but I usually find something. It's fun. Please, just get it out there. I'm not that